The 2,000-year-old debate, moderate or abstain. This is a concept I've been wrestling with for quite some time now. I first decided to go sober back in 2023, and after a long stint of drink and drug abuse from my early teens into my late teens into my early adolescence, in fact early teens into early adolescence, about 13, 14, I was introduced to the drink, drugs and party scene, and I was pretty much hooked from the get-go. So me being a part of that world for a very, very long time, and then first deciding to go sober in 2023 on the path to start to really transform and turn around my life. Some things happened, some personal things, and they really, some challenging times I got presented with, and they really shook up my world. And I'm actually deeply grateful for that now, because that's what forced me into starting to take a different approach and really say to myself, right, I need to start making some serious changes in my life now. Let's start having a look at the things in my life that are detrimental, causing destruction, causing chaos, the things that I know that I need to get a handle of. And I started with the drink and drugs. Everything pointed back to that. All my problems pointed back to the drink and the partying I was doing at the time. So my number one objective was to eliminate that from my life in that moment of time. I planned to do 12 months sober back in 2023, and I set off on this big goal. Oh no, tell a lie. I did 100 days sober in 23, and in 2024 I decided, after I'd done a couple stints of 100 days and feeling a hell of a lot better, I then decided to go fully sober in 2024. I did around 7 months teetotal, and then I ended up I just self-destructed and ended up going on a massive bender. And then it put me in a position like, right, I need to find out a solution for this now. Because from going from partying for over 10 years straight and it being a big part of my lifestyle, and obviously very much like social connections and people that I've met throughout this life also playing a big factor, because meaning me cutting out from that will have to meaning me cut off a lot of friends. So it wasn't just the case of going sober, it was also a case of distancing myself from certain people and cutting some people off that I actually really cared about, even though I knew the relationships was only serving me on the level of going out socializing, drinking and partying. They were still good friends, so it was that's also added weight. So I needed to think of a little bit of a compromise or a way to at least moderate. That was my goal. I was like, right, I've gone sober, I know I can do it now. It doesn't have the full control over me like it used to. So let's try and find some form of balance with this. And you'll understand why I'm telling you this story in a moment. So after going through like the moderate and abstain dance, I decided, moderation is good. So let's try and find some form of balance, i.e. go out on a night out every now and again. I'd maybe have a couple of drinks every now and again without like tipping it over to staying out till silly o'clock, or even 2 days for that matter. So that was what I was trying to do, and I did that for around about a year. Just trying to moderate, obviously going out on the occasion. Sometimes I did step over the line and ended up going a little bit wilder than expected. Sometimes I went out, literally had a couple of drinks and went home and had an early night. So it was pretty much part and parcel. I was able to manage it and able to do it sometimes. Other times it wasn't so, and it's all to do with, I think, the emotional state you are in when you enter the situation. I think, analysing myself now, every time I've ended up going on a bit of a mad one was when I've entered that environment or used alcohol or drink as a way to cope or escape. If you're using anything for that matter as a way to cope or escape, it is almost always going to be destructive, because there isn't clear intentions, there isn't pure intentions as to why you're acting out that behaviour. Say, for example, you're going to meet a friend for a couple of drinks and the intention's just to catch up and have a socialise, not to get hammered, not to run away from your problems, not to escape yourself, then it's a hell of a lot, the experience you have is a hell of a lot different. Now, I'm using just an alcohol as an example because that was the biggest one for me, but only until say the past 6 months, after obviously being moderating, or at least trying to moderate for a very long time, I've come to the conclusion that After doing some study on moderate and abstinence, there has been numerous amounts of studies done on this and how we can incorporate moderation and abstinence into our life, and whether you should moderate and abstain isn't a set one decision, because moderate and abstain is so different across the board with so many different simple pleasures, vices, whatever you want to call it. We all have different crutches, we all have different vices, we've all got things that we're working with or working on. Like everybody who's watching this today, if you're watching this today, you more than likely have something in mind right now that you're working on. A habit that you maybe want to get rid of, a habit that you want to overcome. It may not be alcohol, maybe something else. Maybe porn, maybe doom scrolling, maybe overeating, maybe overindulging in sex, watching too much TV, masturbating. Could be alcohol, could be smoking weed. So whatever your crutches or vices that you know is being destructive and causing more chaos to your life, you need to go through them all, because there's more than likely going to be more than one. I mean, listen, everybody is definitely prone to the phone one and social media, for that is for sure. I think we're all hooked on that one. So go through, write all the list of all these things, and then you want to decide whether moderation or abstinence with these things is going to be better for you. Which one is going to be better? For me, I decided alcohol is 100% better abstinence. Moderation is, even in moderation, it isn't good, because what it does for me, it leaves that space of indecisiveness and that shall I just have one or two? Shall I drive? Shall I not? Shall I stay out a little bit later? Shall I stay out till 12? Shall I stay out till 1? Shall I just have a few? How many shall I have? 3, 4, 5? Shall I have this? Shall I go out tonight? Shall I not? There's too much decision making around it, and you end up making decisions out of alignment because you've never really got a decisive action. Because what does moderation actually look like? When we say moderate, okay, well, what does that look like? Because moderation for you and for me is going to be completely different. So there might be certain crutches and vices that you can moderate with. Like for me, cigarettes. I never ever smoke during the week. I never get the temptation or the urge. I never get the pull, the drive to act it out. As soon as I've had a drink, I'll buy a pack of cigarettes. So that's the cue. That's the correlation. I couldn't think of anything worse than smoking one sober. Another time, I'll enjoy it if I'm on holiday in the sun and I'm sat in a cafe drinking, I don't drink coffee anymore, but I was drinking a brew, I wouldn't mind a nice little cigarette in the sun. But I allow myself that in moderation, because it never tips to the point of being over-consuming. It doesn't snowball into destroying my life where I'm smoking 20 cigarettes a day. So for that, me, cigarettes, moderation. Whereas if something is destroying your life and you find it hard to control it, then for me, it shouldn't even be in the question. Abstinence. Work towards completely cutting it out of your life. And go through all these vices. Find out the ones that you easily moderate with, the ones that you are in control of, and you can quite easily put it down when you say you're going to put it down. Every time you say you're going to have a break, you have a break from it. That's fine. Keep them in your life, but allow that in moderation. The things that you cannot get control of, or the things that get control of you, and or destroying your life or causing some form of destruction, and you know deep down when things are holding you back. So you just got to be radically honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Be true. Right, okay, this is definitely hindering my, even though I want to keep it in because I enjoy it, it gives me some form of pleasure. Like, we never do these things because we know it's going to cause us pain. We always act out a habit because we believe in that moment it's going to either do one or two things: alleviate pain or experience pleasure. We do all our decision making is based off them two principles. We're trying to either achieve pleasure or avoid pain. So if you think about it, so for example, the alcohol in the moment when I'm feeling stressed and work's overwhelming and life's getting a bit too much, that does both of them. It achieves the outcome in literally next to no, you don't really need to do anything. There's no effort required. I just drink to drink. So it alleviates the pain in the moment. I'm no longer I feel stress free. I takes the weight off in that moment, and it also gives me pleasure because alcohol's pleasurable. But with short-term pleasure always becomes pain. Pain and pleasure are brother and sister. The more you abstain from pleasure, yeah, the more pleasure you experience, because abstaining from pleasure is painful. In the moment to say no, when you really, really want to smoke that joint, you really want to eat that cookie, you really, really want to have that beer, the impulse is strong. I know the feeling, brother. It's strong. When it's pulling and it's there, it's hard to get it out of your mind. But if you can be sovereign, stand on your own 2 feet and decide no, which is painful, guess what meets you at the other end of that? Pleasure. And the same applies. If you willfully go into painful experiences or experience any form of pain, like going in the cold shower, like a rigorous training workout, like saying no when you know you want to say yes, painful in the moment brings pleasure in the long term. And this is what the Greeks Epicurus and the Epicureans are talking about. So when you've ever heard about Epicurean, it's a Greek philosophy or a philosopher, and he has a philosophy and is very surrounded by the pleasure pain or the pleasure principle. And you typically picture the Greeks with like the bowl of grapes and the wine, so it's very pleasure induced. But he actually lived such a solitary life where he abstained from all pleasure, didn't have sex. I'm going to read this entry out of the book in a minute. Arguments. What are the arguments against pleasure? They are already stated explicitly, indicating perhaps that many humans have deeply rooted ambivalence to pleasure that needs to only be refreshed from time to time by philosophical and religious reminders. We all need to know intuitively that pleasure and danger are associated, and that sexual pleasure is the most dangerous of all pleasures, far exceeding in this regard the danger of overindulgence in food or drink, or too much enjoyment of art, music, dance and travel. In fact, these other activities are sometimes tainted by the association of other pleasures with sexual pleasure. But Epicurean theory comes with its own set of warnings about pleasure. So we need to start viewing pleasure through this lens, because let's use sex as an example quickly. Sex is commoditized. Sex is so like normal. We've been fed it from such a young age, from porn, from film, through videos. It's fed into our minds that it's just the norm. We should be having sex on a regular basis. We're even told this in school, like, yeah, it's healthy. It's part of the human life. We need to be having constant sex all the time in order to feel. It's not right, because when we're indulging in sex frequently for the only purpose of pleasure, if we're only trying to have sex to achieve pleasure, which sex is a void to experience a deeper form of intimacy and love, and it's for reproduction. That's the only purpose. When we're overindulging in sex for pure pleasure, that is especially for a man, that is the most potent of drug, and that will control your entire life if you allow yourself to get addicted to this compulsive desire to have sex. If you allow that to run your life, you will be pulled from pillar to post by this desire without you even knowing. This is exactly what it's talking about. Theory, where it's talking about the music, dance, art, travel. In fact, these other activities are sometimes tainted by the association of other pleasures with sexual pleasure. So it's tainted. So that's the number one thing driving you to act out all these things, when that's the thing you're truly craving. So if we can master that, fellas, we can master ourselves. And if you want to know more about that, there's an ebook in the description, The Sacred Practice of Semen Retention, where you can talk about it talks all about transmuting your sexual desires and harnessing that energy for creativity, discipline and pursuit. So you can get that down below in the bio, in the description below. So quickly I'm going to wrap it up on this, how we can tie it all in now. So through my own practice, I've been also practicing with that, like Epicurean, lives a very solitary lifestyle, doesn't engage in sex, doesn't engage in drinking, alcohol, fornicating, any sort of hedonistic behaviour was completely off the charts. A very, very simple diet, breads, nothing salty or sugary, breads, cheese, he had some filtered wine, and I think he had like seasonal veg and things like that, no meat or fish, because he thought that was too pleasurable. So the reason why he done this path is because he understood the principle. Abstain from the pleasure, and that brings you pleasure, which is painful. It's always, but you live a painful existence in the moment, but so much more deeply satiating and satisfying long term, because you are a disciplinarian. You are choosing discipline every single time in that moment rather than pleasure, because we get a split decision every time we want to act out this pleasurable thing. Discipline or pleasure, long-term success, and choose my long-term goals, or short-term satisfaction. That's the decision we have to make every single time. We know the short-term bit of pleasure isn't going to serve us long-term, but we choose to pay the price every single time, or choose the uncomfortability now and receive pleasure long-term. So which one are you going to choose? Are you going to indulge in the pleasure today, or are you going to put that off, feel the pain right now and the pleasure later on? because you're going to feel pain regardless. You're going to feel pain later down the line when you're acting out the bad habits and you've got to pay the price for your destructive behaviours and your lack of discipline. Or you can apply the discipline, feel discomfort in the moment, and reap the benefits long term. So this is a lifelong practice, and it's a practice that I think every man should devote himself to. Lifelong practice that he should devote himself to. Really starting to harness and control his pleasure-seeking behaviours, and really get a hold on your pleasure-seeking behaviours, and write down the list. Moderate or abstain. Understand yourself well. Understand yourself deeply. Be radically honest about your crutches and your vices, and start to work with these things. It takes time. It's a messy process, but if you follow the path of the Epicurus, then I can promise you'll find a lot more. Life will just become a lot more colourful and vibrant. The small things will start to bring you joy, and you'll feel like you have much more of a deeper purpose than trying to just pursue these small hits of dopamine. Right, guys, I hope that was I hope you found that satiating, I hope you found that educational, and I hope my story could potentially inspire you in some form of way. If you want to work with me one-to-one, link below. I've got some ebooks down in the description as well. You can get them below. Any questions about anything else, hit me up in the comments. I love hearing from you all, so yeah, please reach out anytime. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the other side. Peace.